Hey peeps. Hi peeps. My fucking phone's not charging. That's what you get for having old school iPhones. They love it when the updates run out and your phone just doesn't work as often anymore. So that's fucking cool. Apple's the best, eh? Isn't that the best? Come on in, people. Join the party.
Growl, run a check on Control Module 5.
All readings normal, Professor. Everything checks out.
How about Section 6?
Normal reading on line axis. Zero overflow.
Request immediate action.
Temperature?
Temperature normal, Professor Barrett.
Outflow?
Normal.
No reply from safety control.
How's the linear momentum?
Dispersing low yield.
No change in the reading, sir.
Sector 15, temperatures exceeding.
Excuse me, Professor Barrett. In a few minutes, we'll have a printout on the radioactivity for the module and terrace.
Splendid. Fowler, check the component ratios for the module.
They're all running smoothly, Professor.
Module 7, production reactivated.
Sector 3 readings have returned to parameter base values.
Kappa rate seepage levels are all normal here, Lawson. But we better check for leaks from both end terminals. Okay.
Operator A381, come in, please. Operator A381, come
Sector
in.
5 redispersal now under control.
No reply from data center. Please check circuit 9 complete.
All spot checks get taken.
Module 8, come in, please.
Warning, warning. Stabilizers 5 and 6 running out of phase.
No abnormal readings on central control.
Emergency team, please proceed to anti-contamination plan.
Sector 5 all clear.
Prepare section.
You may not know much about chemistry, but in bed her reactions are terrific.
I'm not surprised with that cute little lass.
I'm a tip man myself.
Readings are all normal here, too. Sometimes I think these spot checks are just a waste of time. Look here. Wait a minute. What's that?
The meter's going
My
crazy.
phone's not coming up.
It's impossible.
My phone's not charging.
There must be a source of leakage along the terminal.
Sure looks like it. My God, the needle's running right off the scale.
Switching the anti-contamination circuits.
Damn it, there's no reaction. Doesn't work.
Try the emergency valve.
Keep back, we may get some fireworks.
just lost it.
What?
The pig rat! In the most sterile sector of the module.
Incredible. How could it get in?
Don't know. Look out!
Emergency! Emergency! Accident on module Antares. Repeat, accident on module Antares. Emergency!
Hurry.
Accident on module
Regan,
Antares.
check the coordinates.
Accident on module Antares. Emergency! Emergency!
There's no answer, sir.
Try again, Fowler, for God's sake.
It's no use, sir. The circuits have gone wild.
Nobody answers. We better stop that leak or we'll all be dead.
Operation Sweet Death. Professor Barrett here. All emergency personnel report immediately to Module Antares. Red priority. See that all entrances are kept under observation. Must be isolated, understand? Cut off completely.
Emergency! Emergency! Accident on module Antares. Emergency!
Your gas mask, Professor.
Literally, though. I don't know. I know what it is about this movie that I love. But, I mean, a lot of people have hate for this album. Or not the album. Fuck, we're not talking about album. We're talking about movies. They have hate for this movie. And it is cheeseball. It's terribly dubbed. Some of the effects are half-assed. Pretty sloppy zombies. But there's just literally, there is something about this fucking movie that gets me every time, man. Like, that's so cheap. Like, literally, it's just like 2 bad ribs and put a couple guts on top, and that's how it is, right? But for some reason, man, this movie fucking just gets under my nerves. It's probably just because of the Goblin score. And if you watch a lot of Italian films like myself, you'll hear this soundtrack. Well, especially if you like Dawn of the Dead, the Goblin, the Argento cut, or Contamination, Alien Contamination, Toxic Spawn was another title for Contamination. Has the same Goblin music also, Connexion. But they used all of the music, either from Dawn of the Dead or Contamination, and I don't know what it is, man. I can literally watch this movie probably 100 times a year. It's fucking amazing, especially with that alarm. There's something about that alarm, man, and it's just a rip-off. It's just a good rip-off movie, man. I love this movie. I'm a huge soundtrack guy too, man. Like I said, man, we talk about horror all the time, and yeah, I'm fucking right, Suspiria hoodie. So ever since these re-releases of all these soundtracks that have been coming out lately, like through Death Waltz and Mondo and Lunaris and many others. I've been jumping on board, man. I love these fucking soundtracks, man. Huge fan of like City of the Living Dead. That's one of my top favorite movies. Fulci. Love the fucking Fulci. Of course, gotta have the goddamn Goblin. Oh. What do we got here? Oh, he's calling me. He's calling me. Where'd he go? Oh, I love it. Technology, right? Dave's sitting in his studio right now too, and oh, there he is.
Yo,
there he is. What up?
what up?
Yeah. So So what do you got? You got a little test song there in the background. You're gonna play?
Yeah, I'll fucking test it real quick. You hear it?
I sure do. So Dave's gonna play a little something for us. Oh, smoking a little bowl. Testy, 1, 2, 3. So what was that? Just a little something that you've been playing with lately, or what?
No, that's a song. It's a single I did like a month ago when all this shit was kind of going down. I took like that emergency broadcast sound and warped it and fucked it all up and made it a single.
Right.
It actually has, I don't know if I should be saying this, but a Skip It commercial sample in it and a Red Lobster Endless Shrimp commercial buried inside of it.
Nobody heard it. So, City of the Living Dead shirt, actually, that's kind of funny. My friend, Twisted Tees, he's the one who actually made those shirts. So that's cool that you have.
I remember him at conventions always.
Yes. Big time,
yeah,
man.
Cinema Wasteland, like in Ohio, like fucking 10 or 15 years ago.
Yep, he's been doing that shit forever. Because he comes down,
he comes some dope ass shirts. I don't know, is he still making shit?
Yes, right now, unfortunately, because of all this shit that's going down, he's kind of like slowed down because a lot of his distributors aren't sending stuff over, so he can't really restock right now. But yeah, definitely, he's still got wicked shit going on though. He's fucking putting out shirts like crazy. Right on. What a good movie. I just ended up watching that one about 2 weeks ago again too, man. What a fucking crazy film that is.
Yeah, anything with like radioactive zombies, I'm like fucking okay with. And the fact that they like drink blood and they're like vampires is like super fucking cool too.
Yeah, and what's neat too is a lot of people they try to come up with these ideas of who was the first running zombies or whatever, and I find that was the film that was actually the closest to it.
Yeah, and they have like weapons and shit. Yeah. So does Burial Ground. You see these fucking decrepit, they can't move zombies coming out of the ground, but in one scene you just see them walking with like fucking like a ton of weapons. Like what the fuck?
Literally, when they're invading the house, all of a sudden they have sickles and fucking they're beating down the doors and they know how to get in, but literally they only move, they're like Romero zombies where they just barely move, right?
Yeah.
Hilarious. So, here's Mr. Dave Slasher Dave Slasher guy, joining us here. Where are you from?
I'm from Madison Heights, Michigan. 11 Mile. Represent.
There's a lot to represent there, eh?
Yeah. Hey, it's a couple miles away from 8 Mile, right?
Sweet. So, you've been involved with the underground scene for quite a while. How old are you?
Yeah. What?
How old are you?
I'm too stoned, Cam. No, I really don't. I have a hard time remembering if I'm 35 or 36.
Yeah, we'll just keep it as a mystery.
1984.
Okay.
Do the math.
But your love for horror and metal has gone forever.
Yes, it's gone since I've been 3 years old, creeping out into the fucking living room with my mom watching some fucking crazy ass shit. Sneaking out there and fucking watching it, yeah.
And obviously, you grew up with, what did you find first, music or movies?
100% movies. And not only from my mom watching like fucking Salem's Lot when I was really young, but also my grandpa, rest in peace, he was a huge movie guy, and I would go over there and it would be like, when I was a kid, there was my mom's way of like babysitting me would be put on Ghostbusters, put on Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm just glued to the TV.
Right. So what would you say was really the first movie that you all of a sudden just kind of clicked with?
Definitely Nightmare on Elm Street for some reason.
Right.
I have a picture that I've posted on social media and shit, but it's no joke, like 1988, and I'm a fucking like toddler, but I've got like a Freddy hat and like I've got the whole get up, the fucking plastic glove, but I'm like tiny meeting him, and I remember that shit. That was like my first like crazy memory that I remember, being absolutely terrified, but that's where the love of it comes in, I think, is that, like, that rush when I first was in line waiting to meet Freddie, and it was at Mammoth Video, and I fucking finally get to the front of the line, and I remember he goes, "Come here, little Freddie, yeah," and I fucking booked it through the aisle. I just remember seeing, like, videos like, whoa, fuck!
So you actually got to meet Robert Englund.
Yeah. I don't think it was Robert. I think it was just some fucking dude, which is even creepier.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they were doing promo or something like that, and with some dude all dressed up or whatever.
Yeah, get your picture taken with Freddie, and they had a furnace set up in the background.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Well, but those were the days, though, like, especially when video stores were open, that they actually put attention to detail about some of these movies, right? About, merchandising these things and doing all that.
Fucking, it's crazy. Like, I was just live the other night showing people some of this shit. And, like, the Freddy Yo-Yo I just showed you.
Right.
And Trapper Keeper made,
I got that.
They got, like, folders that you can, like, put in a fucking Trapper. It's like, this was marketed, and that little yo-yo was marketed to little kids, but you watch those movies and you're like, what the fuck were they on in the 80s? Like, What was happening in pop culture that everyone worships a dude that splits fucking teenagers open?
Well, yeah, and was a kid killer at the time, at the first one, right?
Like, I don't know, have you ever seen that first episode of Freddy's Nightmares? The TV show?
Yeah, okay, go on.
The first episode of that was, like, the origin story, and he fucking drove an ice cream truck, and that shit is weird. It's like pre-burnt Freddy, the first episode only.
Whoa.
But he is straight up, like, stalking this tiny little girl through her fucking window driving an ice cream truck. It's fucked.
Wow. Okay, I need to revisit that, because I remember when the Freddy's Nightmares were on TV, and a lot of them were kind of hokey, just because
they were awful.
Yeah.
Let's fucking be honest. But the parts with Freddy in between,
right?
That is what I consider, like, B-movie Freddy, because the makeup isn't quite all there for the show. Everything was thrown together really fast, and the voice isn't really that good either. So it's almost like the cheap, here, take this, like, cheap Freddy. It's still Robert Englund, but, obviously the money isn't going into a show like a movie.
Right, yeah, because they're just using him to cut in segments to introduce parts and all that kind
of
stuff.
Like a crypt keeper, yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's wicked. So obviously we're doing a death metal documentary here. What was your first introduction into the death metal world?
Definitely 100% Cannibal Corpse. I mean, I was really young when that shit was coming out, but basically the first person who got me into, like, punk, got me into thrash metal, because I was super into thrash metal, and grind, like Terrorizer, World Downfall.
Best album ever.
I would go over my friend Warren's house, rest in peace. He's fucking dead too. But he would take us to his uncle's house. And his uncle was like a 40-year-old dude that didn't work. And he woke up, drank a 40, and smoked a pack of Camels, and he would give us weed. And we were like 13 or 14. And he would just blast, like, he was a collector. He had tapes upon tapes and CDs upon CDs, and he would just show us all this crazy shit. And Warren, which was a little more hip-hoppy kid, I guess, just wouldn't care and just wanted to get high. But I was the one that was, like, taking it all in, absorbing it, getting into it, and my introduction to all that stuff was me, no joke, feeling waves from the ceiling fan, just being high as fuck, listening to, like, World Downfall and fucking Hammer Smashed Face, and I'm just high as fuck, like, fuck.
And then obviously from there on in, you that greatly impacted you, and it pretty much changed your life from there on in.
Yeah, rest in peace Motor, because he's dead too. Fuck, that was his name, Motor. Rick. Yeah.
God damn. But especially as a young kid too, when you're listening to that style of music, and especially being high, it does something to you, man. Like you said, like your friend was there and he just wanted to get high, but you were going there because you were actually like, holy fuck, this music is unbelievable. It's fucking taking me over. I need to hear more.
Yep.
Holy shit, man. That's awesome. And especially, well, you said you were 13, 14 at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hear any death metal or grindcore till I was 17, I believe. So, I mean, being 13 at the time, holy shit, man, that would really fucking blow you away.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I was listening to it at 13, 14, but I definitely started to get into it more once I reached like 17,
Sure.
18, and I could spend my own money on things and buy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you were introduced to it though. That's the thing, right? A lot of people they hear it and then they just forget about it and just be like, "Oh, I heard this weird band and they're doing this weird, grunting and growling and I don't know what the fuck it was, so I'm just going to move on." But like yourself and same with myself too, you hear that and then you kind of don't understand it at first, but then, maybe a half hour later or an hour later you're kind of like, "Wow, like this ain't too bad actually, and I need to hear more." And does it get heavier and does it get crazier and whatever? And yeah, honestly, man. So obviously that got you into that, and then you went to your first show. What was your first show?
Probably like I would say a Warped Tour.
Oh.
I would say it was like my first, because you got to think I was also into punk.
Yeah, love it.
And obviously, you get into punk, I feel like a lot of the people, at least in the 90s, got into it from the popular side of things.
Totally.
And I kind of got into it from that, and then along the way, I had a bunch of shit going on at one time. Like, I loved ICP at the time. I loved punk. I loved death metal. And, like, it was just kind of like, I don't know what the fuck, like... I don't know. I'm just a fan of a bunch of shit, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yep, same here, man. No, I was totally like you said, man. I grew up, in the '80s. I'm 45 myself, so I grew up on Ozzy and Judas Priest and Maiden, and then I went right into breakdancing and hip hop, and then I went into punk and alternative and thrash metal, and then it went heavy, and then it just started going all crazy everywhere else. But during the 90s, I got huge into the, that Southern California style of punk rock, like NoFX, Face to Face, Pennywise, all that kind of shit, right? So those Warped Tours, they just opened up a whole floodgates of new bands, right? Because the Fat Records at the time, they were handing out CDs, like compilations, like crazy. No Use for a Name, like fucking everything was going on. So that was like a really cool time for fucking checking out tons of bands.
Yeah, but that was probably my first concert, I'd say.
Sweet. And then your first death metal concert?
First death metal concert was probably Cannibal Corpse. With him, the Motor, the guy that introduced me.
Yeah. And that was George, I'm assuming, George Corpse Grinder?
Yep.
Killer. So obviously, as soon as you seen that show, there was something in you that wanted to start creating something.
Yeah, it took years for me to get it out because I still go back to punk.
Right.
It's death metal and punk are the two like genres that I can listen to too much of it. I get really bad at like genre listening, and I just burn myself out.
Yeah.
And then I need to switch to something else. But punk and like street punk and oi and death metal are what I always like fucking come home to. So I used to play in this punk band called the Rat Finks in Detroit. So, and we were more a little like oi. Fun fact, Phil, the drummer of that, now plays in Acid Witch. But yeah, I was obsessed with that for a very, very long time, and still am, but all through my teen years. But it took me until like my 20s when I was kind of starting to discover stuff like Razorback Records and like more of the 2000s horror stuff that
Yeah.
didn't sound like anything else coming out. And then I kind of got reintroduced back into the gore shit, back into some of the drum machine side of things.
Yeah.
And then Maniac Neil and Ghoul and Blood Freak and fucking Frightmare and all this shit really started like coming out. And I was obsessed with Maniac Neil's bands. I love Blood Freak and I fucking love Frightmare.
Frightmare is one
so
of the best
much.
bands. Yeah.
But, and that was kind of my big kick in the ass of like, all right, I see all these people doing horror shit, and that's what I want to do. And it's popping right now, and there's a fan base of people just like fucking me. And that kind of kicked me in my ass to be like, all right, I want to do something like this.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so all of a sudden, Acid Witch started kicking in.
Yeah.
Or was it Horrific first?
The Slasher Dave shit was first. So 2007, I made a MySpace page of like John Carpenter worship, shit that I was working on, and from that I started to produce, and I figured out things. Okay, this is how you get the guitar into the program. This is how you record the vocals, and it was just me at the time, and nobody knew it was me. I didn't say it was me, and I put 2 Acid Witch songs up on the MySpace page, and somehow got a deal from that. I have no idea how, but there wasn't even singing. It was instrumental. It was like Black Sabbath meets fucking John Carpenter.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You
with some distortion, with more distortion.
Yeah, exactly. Just an insane amount of fuzzy, distortion.
Yeah. Wow, 2 songs on MySpace. That's hilarious.
Yep. I know.
But everybody was hungry for a lot of that stuff at that time, too. Like you said, that whole Razorback era. Kind of.
Yes, because the scene was split back then. It was like you have your uber serious fucking people that are like, that's Thunderground. That's not fucking Cult. And yeah, people weren't expecting a metal band to come out and have a Crypt Keeper intro. Back then,
right.
And I know you remember, back then, that shit was cheesy.
Sure was.
And in the metal world, and people wanted to see young, naked 70s Electric Wizard looking occult stuff instead of a green-ass fucking Halloween witch. People didn't know what the fuck to expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, totally. So that kind of, like, I mean, not just, again, the whole Razorback, that scene and just that label with all the stuff that was coming out, like you said, it kind of had a cheese factor, but there was something different about it. It was
fun.
It was so fun.
It was fun. All the albums are catchy and they're fun. They don't take themselves seriously, but it's great death metal. And death metal shouldn't really take itself too seriously. It's kind of a bastard child of a bunch of different things. Horror being a main fucking element of it. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
And, so I don't know. It's that whole fun factor, and it all goes back to like horror movies to me. It all just stems back to that. Like when I first heard Cannibal Corpse, I was like, "What? This is like a monster, like singing or something." It's like a Halloween record that I would collect when I was a kid that had like, pitch shifted,
totally.
laughing on it. So when I first heard that shit, I was like, man, this sounds like a fucking monster is like singing or something.
It's true though, because I mean, yeah, like you said, you go back to those like Halloween, Halloween sound effects,
spooky sounds,
the spooky sounds and all that stuff that they were, you bought on vinyl. Disney had a couple things too. They were a little cheesier than usual, but yeah, like there was those spooky sound effect records that you would play at Halloween in the background, and it would just be like there'd be a cauldron scene, there'd be the iron jail scene, there'd be the
15
wolves.
minutes of a man puking.
Yeah, totally.
With echo and delay.
It was so good though, man. I still have a couple of those records from when I was a kid. Because literally, like, you close your eyes and it takes you away. And with that, you know, the whole Razorback era, that's kind of what it was doing then too, right? Like with Frightmare, Splatterhouse, Decrepitaph, Vacant Coffin, and then all of this Ghoul. We're doing that, and it was fun, and it was kind of revitalized, and you know, don't take it so seriously and everything like that. So Acid Witch, you joined the Razorback roster like right after that, I guess. Right after the first wave of
Razorback was like split at the time. They were gonna start doing soundtracks, and that's where the Slasher Dave shit came in. And then Acid Witch, I never, like, I knew it was a fucking cool name, and it's been in my back pocket since I've been a fucking teen. But I didn't expect anything to, like, happen from it. I just released 2 songs. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't expect anything to happen.
Yeah. You just wanted to get some creativity out because this is what you were feeling. You're feeling heavy, but you were feeling the horror on the side, and you had to combine the two.
Yep.
Totally. So did that obviously pushed you to go harder with Acid Witch?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I called Shagrat now, the bassist of the band. He does the artwork for the covers. I called him up and was basically like, hey, I want to do this group that we can kind of take influences of everything if we wanted to. So I didn't limit myself to like death metal.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to incorporate some doomier side of new wave of British heavy metal like Witchfinder General and Pentagram. And I wanted to just make this like mixing bowl of a bunch of different shit with horror soundtrack combined and Halloween spooky sound shit combined, and just make like a bastard out of it. And the number one most important thing to me was always the layer of surprise with Acid Witch. Like, we'll come out and cover cock rock songs on a fucking album. We don't give a fuck. Like, it's always a surprise kind of, and you never get the same sound. And I hate limiting myself to on the metal side of things to that, and with the Slasher Dave like soundtracks. I just want to be able to do whatever the fuck is kind of like going on. It's more natural for me instead of like, oh, you have to, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, it's true though, because I mean, like, especially with the early Acid Witch stuff, the vocals, you like, it was really growly at the beginning with Acid Witch.
I didn't do the vocals at the beginning. That was Lasse from Hooded Menace. Which Panic, the first album, is another vocalist, and it wasn't until we started to get the kind of idea of like, we're kind of popping right now. We might want to maybe try and do a live thing with it. And that was where it was kind of like, all right, this isn't going to work with him over in Finland doing vocals, and it's just not going to work if we want to like do anything with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you started doing the vocals, or you got somebody else? Yes.
I'm stoned. Yeah. Actually, I think Midnight Mass EP came out before Stoned, but they were like Stoned sessions. But yeah, I started singing on that one.
Right on. Yeah, and you can show your diversity in it all, right? Like you said, you don't want to limit yourself to just death metal or just horror or whatever. You want to do everything. So you throw that vocal style in. Like you said, you have a little, like you said, like an 80s like Nightmare Dawkins kind of feel to it, and then all of a sudden it'll go to something like Sabbathy, and then it'll go to something pure horror soundtrack, and then it'll go to brutal, and it just kind of goes all over the place. Because I mean, yeah.
And I like doing weird witch voices or monster voices. I'm good at that side, but the singing on like Midnight Movies, the high pitched singing was totally Mike. Like, that was not me. I cannot hit those notes like that or anything. But that was the cool thing about that album, to where we were like, fuck it, let's just do different. Like, we don't need to just play an instrument. And we can all do different fucking things, because it was like, we had no idea what people would think of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we were like, the horror fans are going to love it because it's a bunch of cool covers, but I think the normal metal crowd might hear it and be like, what in the fuck are they doing?
But that's what kind of made you stand out, though.
Yeah. I mean, we've never cared. It's always just been a big mismatch. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Like, come on.
Yeah, totally. Did you end up playing one of the Hell's Head Bashes too, right?
All of them, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And again, there's, a bunch of bands there that are pretty serious about the genres and stuff like that. And then there's you come in throwing some pumpkins and having some masks and
candy at the crowd.
Right. But you're but everybody liked you anyways, though.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I think the not give a fuck about what we're doing thing, I think people when you're upset, you're a collector, you're really into metal, you can see through a lot of bullshit, I feel like. It's the one fan base that you can kind of see through a bunch of fucking bullshit, and I think we really come off as genuine because that's kind of just like who we are. We don't, you know what I mean?
Yep. No, totally, man. And you do all the artwork, most of the artwork for it all, right? Now?
No. For Acid Witch, I do shirts and shit, but the covers are Shagrat, the bassist. He does these fucking amazing, like, hand-painted. I'm more on the digital realm. Yep. I do paint traditionally, but he's really, really good at traditional painting, and he hand paints all the, like, full-length album covers. So we've gotten Putrid to do an EP. We've gotten Adam Geyer to do another EP. But for the full lengths, no, that's Shagrat. And then for the Slasher Dave shit, that's like all me.
That's you.
Yeah.
And you've obviously, again, going back, being a younger kid, you try the music, you try the movies, and you try the art.
Yeah, I went to school for design and art. So basically, I took, like, no joke, 3 years of social distancing. Way back in the day, just literally on a computer or on a machine trying to learn how to do Slashy Dave or Acid Witch, like trying to learn how to produce. And with that, I just wanted to learn how to do everything. I wanted to do the cover, the layout of the CD and the vinyl, mix, master, I wanted to do it all and not rely on a fucking soul. And I just, like, stayed at home and learned, watched tons of YouTube tutorials and blah, blah, blah. Went to school for arts and design and learned how to do literally everything myself now.
Wow. No shit. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just easier, too, because then it's all your ideas done properly.
It's a big art project for me. It's like music and artwork and a whole theme and just everything,
So do you do keyboards? Do you play guitar, play bass, drums, everything?
Yep, everything. For the Slasher Dave shit, it's mostly programmed drums. But I do take weird samples, or I'll just fucking go like that and put some distortion on it and make it into a kick drum, or I just do weird shit. I don't know.
Well, you got your studio right behind you, man. You fucking do it all yourself. That's amazing. What's that keyboard on your right, I guess?
This one?
Yeah.
That's the Moog Sub 37. Basically the last album that I just dropped, Friday or something, Cannibal Death Gods. That's what I used for all the bass. All the bass is that thing. The sub frequencies are great. It's really warm sounding, and you can really get some like really cool tones out of it.
Is that an old school keyboard or a newer one?
It's a newer one with all old school. It's like half analog, half digital, and you can't tell the fucking difference from an old Model D to that thing. Like the circuits in it, Moog is a very awesome company, and they know how to make shit, and they keep they keep producing shit that sounds like amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've kept the same feel and warmness to all of their equipment since they started back in the day up until now.
And if anything, on the analog side of things, it's even gotten better. So, like, it even sounds better now to me. Sometimes I'll hear a little bit of, it's that little bit of grit, that little bit of fucking dirt that it lays on top of the sound that, like, only that machine has. And each machine has a little different filters and things to run the sound through. So you get a different grit and dirt through every machine. And that's why synth people don't have money. And because they just buy, like, tons of machines, and it's like, it kind of gets to be crazy.
Right. Yeah, totally. And a lot of your soundtrack stuff keeps that synthy, old school vibes to it.
Yeah, it's something that I've, at least with the new album, I feel like that shit, yeah. I just keep that torch kind of burning like I can, but I don't do the typical, what would you call it, like Blade Runner synthwave.
Right.
A Lamborghini and a palm tree and a 8-bit sunset riding into it on a grid. Yep. And, like, I don't really get into the retro wave thing as much as I do the 80s soundtracks. Like, I'm going to just do an album like Spook House that sounds like Halloween 3.
Yeah.
Like,
Is that what this one was more catered to? Was the Halloween?
Yeah, it was like Halloween 2, Halloween 3, and The Fog, and you kind of see all of them on that cover. I also have blue fog on every single one of my covers almost. I always have blue fog.
That's great. What brought you to liking, I guess, this style of soundtrack music, though? I mean, there's obviously, you have the orchestral, you got the Carpenter, you got the Goblin, all the different variations, but you seem to you just seem to gravitate more to like a raw, dirty sound, and like you said, not the retro wave, which, I mean, nothing against it. I totally love a lot of that.
I love that shit.
I love that shit, but I mean, obviously everybody's doing it and it's the cool thing to do, but you're going on the dirtier side, so you have a little bit of Carpenter, you got a little bit of Simonetti in there, and you just mix it all up. But every album so far has its own theme to a different style of, like, movie, or I guess you want to call it.
Yeah, the $20 spin album I did, Frights, that one's the only one that really has, like, no theme, but it was meant to be like that with the name Frights, because it was kind of like a creepy or an eerie comic of different tales throughout it. But that's kind of like my one metal Slasher Dave album, because it has a shit ton of synth, but I have a lot of guitars and heavy guitars going on in that album.
Right. How many Slasher Dave albums have you put out then? There's been a lot so far.
2, 3, 4, and this one is the 5th full length. But unfortunately, because of this shit going on right now, it's not vinyl. It will eventually be a double vinyl, because this is just part. Cannibal Death Gods, my latest album, is part 1 of Cannibal Death Gods. Part 2, if you listen to it, about the 3rd song to the end, it switches to night, and I switch all the sunny, tropical sounding, fun, beautiful shit to it. The album gets really dark the last 3 songs, and it ends on a zombie note instead of a cannibal note. Mm-hmm. So the next album is going to be more this shit, like zombie shit, and it's still going to have the cannibal congas and some of the jungle stuff, but it takes a different fucking road than what this one does, but they seamlessly will tie together into, like, one story, one album. And yeah, I want to do my first, like, double vinyl
God
with
damn.
both. Yeah.
Holy shit. So it's almost like
I
a
had so
Dr.
many-
Butcher.
I had so many ideas with this because I love that genre so much that I was just like, well, fuck, now that I'm in this lockdown shit, I have the time to... I recorded Cannibal Death Gods in 3.5 weeks live on Instagram. Like, right in front of everybody, just watching me. And I'm going to put their names, whoever watched me, they're going to be in the credits when the vinyl comes out because they like kind of helped me during that shit. They were like, turn up the fucking cowbell. So I'm like, woo, fucking. It was like this whole like kind of group, thing that I would ask people like, what do you think of this? Like, and so I'm gonna put all their fucking names, whoever tuned in the vinyl, and do a double fucking LP of that shit. I have too many ideas for that style that, like you were playing Hell of the Living Dead before I tuned in. Just that song at the beginning of it is like, that's the shit I want to start part 2 off with. That all of a sudden, if you know that movie, you're going to get fucking chills. You're going to be like, oh, that motherfucker is fucking... Like, that's the type of shit that I want to do with part 2. And also going with that movie because you were playing the scene of the hazmat suits. Yeah. If you watch that fucking scene, when they pull the meter out,
right, you
see the hand turn the radiation level. It's like a kid's toy, and he's like, oh, the radiation levels are going. It's like, what the fuck? They're not even trying.
No, they're not. They're not.
Like, but that's my love of it. And like, the SWAT team. I've got a song on Cannibal Death Gods 1 that's called Action Sequence, and it's like the alpha male, like, let's escape and shoot all these I have every element of, one of those movies on that album, and I'm going to do that for the second one, too.
And obviously I played that movie at the beginning because of this Cannibal Death God thing that he's, the soundtrack that he's doing, but if you listen to the album, I'm not going to say where the part is, though, but there's a major connection, and you're going to hear it. So if you watch Hell of the Living Dead, if you know the movie, and listen to that soundtrack, on the last track, hopefully one of you are going to see the relation of his love for that movie and then the love for that soundtrack also.
Yep. And I'm even tying, like, hope. Hope is the thing in that, and you're gonna get a little burial ground, a little hell, a little Nightmare City, you're gonna hear it all, because in this one, you gotta think the Cannibal soundtrack realm of things is, and the Italian side of things, like Fabio Frizzi and shit, is beautiful music.
Beautiful.
But it's with gory, sleazy imagery, but the music is like kind of fucking beautiful, and that's because a lot of cannibal and zombie and horror movies in general in Italy was made to make money because they fucking sold, and it was like boom, 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 and they were cranking them out so fucking fast at one point that these sleaze directors and these porno directors would make a horror movie just to fucking make some money. And some of that sleazy music that was in those, like, psychedelic sleazy Euro movies, it came over to the horror realm because the same composers were now doing horror movies. And it's just this whole big genre mashing thing there. And yeah, that's what the fucking album sounds like.
Well, especially Cannibal Ferox, Make Them Die Slowly. The main soundtrack for that is like a funky 70s disco song, right? And then all of a sudden it takes a different turn, and then, like you said, all of a sudden gets into the synth and the sleaze, and then it'll go back into something like nice where it's like right?
And then that's like the Cannibal Holocaust theme. It's like beautiful sounding.
It's beautiful.
And it somehow fits with the music. But that album that you just held up right there, the Ferox soundtrack, that is like, in my opinion, up there with my favorite soundtrack is the Maniac one, Jay Chataway.
Oh.
Subway Terror is like my jammer. Like, but the rawness of that synth album is very similar to that Cannibal. The synth songs on that Cannibal Ferox album are very similar to Jay Chataway's Maniac score. It's very gritty and raw, and it almost makes you feel dirty, like, listening to it.
Oh, it totally does, literally, because it's there's parts where it's a little, you know, like there is fuck, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it throws you off. It sometimes it doesn't make sense, and then it's beautiful, and then it's dirty, and then with the imagery also, it fucks you right up, especially that movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then
for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because I remember when I first watched Scream Greats. I watched the Maniac footage on there first before I seen the movie Maniac. Because in Fangoria, everybody, you know, it was Fangoria is one of their VHS collectors. Was first one was Scream Greats, and the next one was Witchcraft, and shit, was the other one. Anyways, so when I first started watching that, they have clips of the soundtrack on the Scream Greats while they're, you know, showing the parts of Maniac and everything like that, and it just all of a sudden it just triggers like there's something wrong with this movie. It's throwing me off. And like you said, man, it's dirty. It is dirty.
Yep.
Holy shit. Fuck. Well, what else? So you have X amount of albums going on with your Slasher Dave or whatever. Acid Witch is, what's going on with that lately?
It's been me just, again, same thing with Slasher Dave shit, just me going crazy with riffs and recording Acid Witch shit. You're gonna get some fucking dope Acid Witch shit out of all this. I promise. Like, I'm usually so busy being a musician and an artist, and you're kind of doing both things is like really busy sometimes. So this break, I am just getting mad shit done. It's fucking crazy. Like, you're not going to work, and instead of going to work for 8 hours, I'll go to work for like all day, like, and just be doing, like I said, I got Cannibal Death Gods done in 3.5 weeks because it was just all fucking day of working on shit, you know?
So do you have the part 2 to that done yet?
No, I'm actually gonna start. I have like a song or two sketch, nothing really, but I'm gonna do that shit live too within the next week. I need to take a fucking break, Cam.
Yeah.
Like it's been like 3.5 weeks doing the artwork, the promotion, like literally everything was me, and I've been I gave myself a dumb deadline. May 1st, the album comes out, and then like the week of is approaching, and I'm like, fuck, why did I say that shit? But somehow I get shit done when I give myself a deadline, and it comes out the best than if I was to spend more time on it. I'm a very quick, my best material is done in like a couple hours. I don't know why.
Right. And I find myself too, like, especially when we're doing music videos or making movies or whatever, when you're under pressure, that's when you get the best shit done.
Yeah, it's a mixture of everything, I think, and the Cannibal Death Gods came out amazing. Like,
I love it.
It's really hard for me to listen to my own music after I put it out because I just listened to it 500 fucking times, getting the mix and everything. So usually I'll take like a year or two, no joke, 3-4 years even, and then give it a listen and being like, okay. But with Cannibal Death Gods, I was mixing and mastering along the way. So by the time it came out, I could actually put it on and kind of enjoy it and be like, man, like, this is pretty good. I didn't overthink anything because it's so natural, because I love that shit so much.
Well, and like you said too, you almost live jammed it the whole time.
Yeah.
So there's a different approach right there to the whole thing.
Yeah, but that was fun. It was definitely new to me just hop on live somewhere and like, hey, I'm writing a fucking song for an album. But
Yeah.
everyone saw the whole process of it and how I, even down to like production tips with the EQ and like just
Right
a
on.
bunch of crazy shit, because I want to inspire people to just say fuck it and kind of do what we've done with Acid Witch. And Slasher David's like, hey, you don't need to go into a big studio. It's 2020. Just record some shit, put it out,
Yep.
fuck it. Like, who
Yep.
cares? Have fun with it. That's
Literally.
the number one thing. Just have fun, put some fucking shit out. It's not that hard. YouTube's around. You can take some tutorials. Like,
I know, literally, and I mean, especially with the what we can do with our phones. You can do these on your fucking phones. Just download GarageBand or something like that, and you can.
yeah, you can make music with fucking anything now. Like,
Ridiculous.
yeah.
So, are you going to look at doing a new approach, the same approach on later material, kind of the way you did the Cannibal Death God?
Yeah, it's gonna be a normal fucking thing now. I've kind of broken out of my shell of like, for years I was used to doing all that shit by myself or with the band, and I wasn't used to just like talking to people and, you know what I mean, going on live, and it actually, I think, helped with everything because I was super inspired, and everyone was like super positive about everything. And you know, when you have a bunch of positivity always like fucking getting thrown at you, shit comes out good.
Of course,
I don't know what it is. Like,
and well, it just pumps you up too, right? Because all of a sudden, you got a bunch of dudes and ladies hanging out, going, "Oh man, that's fucking awesome!" Yeah, and then like you said, turn the cowbell up or do that, or no, I can't hear that part or something like that. And you're like, yeah, totally.
Yep.
Right on. So what happened with actually before we go on to something else? You had a cool guest appearance on the Cannibal Death God.
Maniac Neil. One of my all-time favorite fucking riffers ever. I've always looked up to that fucking dude like so much that Billy Razorback, the CEO of Razorback, also wrote the press release for Cannibal Death God. So in a weird way, to me at least, it felt like a Razorback album with the artwork and everything. It just wasn't like death metal.
Right.
It was like a soundtrack, but being able to get him, and he, no joke, I sent him the fucking song, told him the fucking key that the song is in, and within like 1-2 days sent me back insane sounding Blood Freak style solo and riffs, and I was just like, fucking kill me now. I wish I could fucking like do shit that fast and have it sound and so fucking good. Like, I really look up to Neil. So
honestly, yeah, because pretty much everything that guy has done has been it's quality. It is quality, man. Literally, like, I mean, I remember I still think the first Blood Freak, the Sleaze Merchant, is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking gross. It's grindcore, but it's still got the Neil riffage in there. And
Multiplex Massacre is a very underrated death metal. I mean, that album is fucking great.
Yeah, man. Holy shit. But literally, though, I can go off about the Frightmare albums, and
Me too.
Like, literally, man. Midnight Murder Mania, and then bringing back the Bloodshed. Like, those two albums, man, you will not find a band or riffs or anything that sound anything like that band there.
Nope. That's what's awesome about it.
And it's such a shame that there's only 2 albums, but I guess that's a good thing because now it's the cult thing, right, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens with time.
Right.
You know, it's very fucking weird. Now I listen to people talk about the production of Witch Chanic, and I'm like, I listen to Witch Chanic, and I'm like, yo, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing during that shit. I just fucking recorded shit. I didn't mean for it to, like, turn out sounding cool with a cool guitar tone. I didn't know anything.
How did you record it?
I just recorded it in a DAW. I recorded it on fucking GarageBand. I just literally recorded it. Like I was figuring shit out along the way. It taught me, kind of, if that makes sense.
Oh, it totally does. Totally does. And GarageBand's easy to work with too, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, back then, there was a bit of a learning curve if you didn't know anything, because YouTube tutorials weren't as, like,
prominent,
big
yeah,
as they are now. Now you can go on YouTube and learn how to do anything, I feel like,
yep.
But in any program. But yeah, it was a learning curve. My fucking best friend in the world, Bernie, he had GarageBand. He got the Max when they started doing more of the creative shit with the programs that come on them and everything. And he taught me a lot when it comes to like the GarageBand and just audio interfaces and how to plug a guitar and, you know, simple stuff.
Sure. Did you plug right into GarageBand, or did you go through an amp and then record it?
The amp.
Yeah.
It was actually a machine. It was a fucking think about what the heavy metal like pedal does.
Right.
You know, the cult death metal fucking Swedish sound.
Yeah.
Think about what that does. But what I did is I turned it up so loud that it hit the ceiling. And I'm sorry to anybody who doesn't know anything about audio. I'm about to get nerdy for a second.
Please do.
But,
please do.
There's a fucking ceiling on audio that's 0 dB. And that's as loud as music can fucking go on audio when you're recording music. And what I did on Witchtanic is I got the guitar and I pushed it above that ceiling. I tried to. It won't go. But what happens is when it hits it, it distorts even more.
Right.
So I just fucking, like, cranked that shit so loud to where it got this, like, huge guitar tone that, you know, a complete accident. Like,
Wow.
I just didn't know, you know what I mean? I didn't know what I was doing, but what I was really doing when I listen to it now is add an extra distortion on top of the already distorted sound.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right on, man. That's right. Did you have the same keyboards then?
No. This is all stuff that I've... this is very expensive. It's all stuff that you kind of need to, you know, save for, or...
Oh, yeah.
When you make a little bit of, you know, doing music and producing and being addicted to things like this that I am, it's kind of like, oh, you almost try to really start making some good money, and then you're like, fuck, I want to get a synth.
Yeah.
And like, it just fucking like, oh, there it goes, back into the project again.
Yep.
But if it keeps it going and I keep having fun with new shit to experiment with, then that, I don't give a fuck about the money thing. I just want to have fun and experiment and do weird shit. Like, and
get the sounds that you really want.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, it's all about fun for me.
No,
like,
totally, man. So on the next Acid Witch, how did you end up recording that then? Once you figured out GarageBand, I guess, what was the next step?
I use Logic Pro for everything now.
Ah, okay.
I'm completely invested in fucking Apple now, because you can't get Logic Pro for anything else. You know, it needs to be a Mac to get Logic. It's an Apple program.
Right.
But I've fucking learned it inside and fucking out. I've had my fucking fingers all through that fucking shit and figuring that crap out to where I'm like, I get on it and it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like I'm comfortable right away and I'm ready to create, have fun.
Right.
I don't need to think about anything because I know it so well.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, a lot of people, they don't understand the programs or whatever. So people start recording, and then as soon as they start looking at the screen, they don't know what to do with it after that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. All music is post-processing and making room for other things. And death metal is a really hard thing to kind of get down and mix, because you have this guitar tone that's like fucking super loud and heavy, a lot of bass inside of it, distorted, and then you usually have a fucking bass guitar that kind of share those same frequencies with that guitar tone, and you have to find a way to, you know, cut this from the guitar so the bass will shine through, And, you know, again, this is all just like learning shit that I've learned. But those old school death metal albums, people don't realize this. In the early 90s when, you know, death metal was fucking popping, all that production was a lot of experimentation and happy accidents.
Yep.
To get those fucking crazy sounds and tones. It was the same thing that I'm doing now at home, like just fucking around and experimenting with things, not really knowing where it's going to go. That's why a lot of those early death metal albums are very magical sounding, and like people hold them really fucking dear to their heart because of the sound, the production on them. Sometimes the kick will just be like way too loud and you're like, what the fuck? But when you put it on a system, it like fucking rattles you apart. And you're like, you know, maybe this is what they were thinking in the studio. And
well,
it's just fun.
And even,
you know?
and like you said, back then, it was all new. Nobody knew what they were doing. Nobody knew what the sounds were. Nobody knew the distortion, the growls, everything, right? So mixing was always the hardest part because not everybody was a seasoned metal producer or an engineer or anything like that, right? So everybody back then had their own characteristic sound because everybody was doing their own experimenting. And then obviously, you know, as the years went on, they kind of figured it out. Okay, well, there's an HM2 pedal, there's the death metal pedal, there's this and that and all that. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
So totally. So that's cool that you're figuring out your own programs and stuff so you can just do all the shit yourself. So do you pretty much just riffs in your head, pick up the guitar first and then start putting shit down?
I don't write. I don't write. I'm not some crazy music theory musician. I've never been. I learned how to play guitar with power chords playing punk.
Same here.
But what I always tell people is like, all you fucking need to make music is an ear. If you can hear when there's a wrong, something that doesn't fit, fucking change it. Like, that's all music is. And to me, I could have a riff in my head. I could have a keyboard thing. I could be watching Westworld and hear a brow and just be like, yo. I could be watching Zombie Holocaust and fucking hear a sample from someone talking and be like, yo, I should make that. Like, I don't know. It comes up organically and I can't control it when it happens. I can't explain it.
So you just pick up a guitar and there's that riff that you just thought of. So you put that down, you record that, and then you kind of just start playing around. Yeah.
Yep, and then add stuff to it. If I hate it, I hate it. Usually with Acid Witch, a track will look like, 4 guitar tracks. Obviously they're doubled, panned left and right, but you'll have the 4 guitar tracks and then the lead if there's a lead, and then you'll see in my music program 5 or 6 different keys, but they're all muted. And what I'll do is I'll do different ones on each take, and then I'll just unmute one. Okay, I like that one. Unmute it. Open up the next one. Okay, that one's a little better right here. And again, it's all just like, I don't know where a song is going ever.
Yeah.
Until I I'm on the last little bit of it and I'm putting what I call ear candy in. Yeah. Just a weird little production, stupid shit if you're listening with headphones. But I never know where anything is going, ever.
But that's the best way to do it, though, man. Honestly.
Yeah.
Have a couple beers, smoke a couple joints. All of a sudden, you got a 7-minute song, and I'm good.
Yeah, I just get really. I don't even do the beer thing anymore. I get fucking ripped, and I just like, all right, let's see what fucking happens.
So, do you always get a lot? Do you get a lot of inspiration from smoking weed?
Totally. It's like my number one ritual that I need to do before I do anything. But for music, yeah, it's like you get really stoned. Sometimes I'll get way too stoned and this wave of anxiety will flow through my body and I'll be like, ugh. But then I just like keep going. And eventually my brain, everything will start ticking again, and I'll be like, all right, now I'm cool.
There's the groove. Yep. No,
Yeah.
totally. I'm the same way too, man. You know, you smoke a fatty, the first 15, 20 minutes, you're kind of like, all right, what's going on here? Oh, shit, right? And then, like you said, you put on a beat or something, or you just fucking press a key on a keyboard, and then you're like, okay, there we go. All right.
Yeah, then you get going with it. Yeah.
And then 10 hours later, you're like, holy fuck, man, I gotta get to bed.
Yeah, and then the next morning, either
it sucks.
wow, that's amazing, or wow, that shit is fucking awful. What was I thinking last night?
Had many of those. Yep, totally, man. Are you more of a sativa or an indica guy?
I'm a weed guy.
You're a weed guy.
Give me fucking anything. If it's flower, I'll fucking smoke it. I don't give a fuck. I never know the names of my weed, even though I get all this, like, really fire fucking weed all the time and shit, but, like, I don't know. I just fucking smoke
Yeah,
it.
no, totally, man. Well, I just find myself as I get older, and my wife, she works at a greenhouse, so she grows all this weed all the time. So everything's just getting really specific. So all of a sudden, it's like, all right, so sativa's getting me a little too jacked, and I'm starting to think too much. I got to tone it down. Maybe I got to put some indica in there. But then if I want to be up a little bit, I need a hybrid indica sativa kind of like it gets insane sometimes.
I went through about a year of that, what you're talking about with trying different shit until I was just like, fuck, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to, like, I've learned I can't really do edibles. I don't like edibles at all.
Me neither.
I don't know why, but every time I do them, especially the really, really, really strong ones, it'll take like 3 hours to fucking kick in. I don't know why my body does that, but I'll totally fucking forget and be out doing something, and all of a sudden just like crack, I just like, fuck. Well, you know, like,
gotta get
if
home.
If I was to kick in fast, I would like it.
That's wicked. Oh, fucking A. So, like you said, for the Cannibal Death God, that's released. If you want to go check it out, if you're unfamiliar,
it's on everything.
It's on everything. If you want to go on Slasher Dave, Facebook, he's got the Bandcamp and everything like that. There's a shit ton of links to everything that he's doing.
Spotify, iTunes, all the digital shit. Like I said, cassette and vinyl. Eventually, once all this fucking bullshit is over, you know, we're gonna get to it and actually fucking press up, like, 1 and 2 of it.
God damn, I gotta get that on vinyl. Who's gonna be putting that out, do you know?
I don't know yet.
Oh.
I'm just
playing around.
Kind of just, I need to get part 2 done.
Yep.
So within the next week, I'm gonna go live and start trying to get that album done, and by the time that's done, I'll figure it out. I gotta kind of like work on one thing at a time usually. If I'm thinking about all that shit at once, I feel like that type of shit, label shit and stuff like that, distracts you from like creativity. Right. Just don't even have it in your head when you're doing something, and I feel like shit will come out a lot better because you're not thinking about anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no deadlines, no head over your shoulder, looking what's going on, when you're doing, send us some, samples and this kind of shit. It's like, get it done, fucking, and then we'll see what happens. Yeah, totally. Yep. And especially when you're in your own comfortable environment too, you can just work at your own pace.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's now that we're fucking all stuck in our house anyways, I mean, this is a pretty good time to be goddamn creative.
Yeah, and I don't know when this, shit's going to be over.
Not at all.
And shit's going to get, like, good again, but... So I did Cannibal Death Gods. We've got Acid Witch has got dope Acid Witch shit coming out. I've got Cannibal Death Gods 2, and then for Halloween, I'm doing another full length. 3 Slasher Dave full lengths in 2020. I'm not doing anything. Like, right. I'm just gonna keep fucking going at it and do a really crazy Halloween LP for Slasher Dave 2.
That's awesome that you have this much inspiration though, and then just that much to get out.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of said, that was the first thing, going live and doing it in front of people, but I have so much crazy Halloween shit from old VHS tapes that my mom recorded on TV to
nice.
Just stuff that's not on YouTube, not on any bullshit. And I told everybody, like, if you tune into me during that time when I'm doing the Halloween shit too, you're gonna see some like crazy mixtape, like fucking really crazy like inspiration to get that, because I'm telling you, like crazy Halloween specials that you wouldn't think, like, why the fuck did they make this dumb shit? Like, I've got it all, and I'm gonna put all that in the album.
God damn.
Fucking take samples from it and shit. So a lot of it's going to be stuff that if you didn't grow up in Detroit and hear from like shitty public access made for TV Halloween shit, you're not going to, it's going to be the first time you ever fucking, hear it.
God damn.
But I'm going to go crazy with that shit and show everyone, like, look at this dumbass shit that I fucking have. You know what I mean? Like,
you're a nerd.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be fun though, because I have so much of that shit that I feel like not even a lot of Michigan people have seen, because it was on some shitty fucking channel. And for some reason, anything Halloween, my mom would hit record. If it was anything Halloween, the VCR was recording. So like the commercials and just the TV playing. And I have a lot of those commercials and just like everything that's involved in those. Very nostalgic shit, but why not make a whole album of and use a bunch of that shit that nobody knows and there's no rights to, probably. Like, just make a really fun album with that shit, because I've been sitting on that shit for a long time, and I don't know if anybody else in Michigan has it. Like, I've never met anybody.
Fucking
so,
might as well
it
play
should
with
be
it.
Cool.
Yeah, might as well play with it.
Yeah.
And like you said, man, it's old school stuff. It brings back good memories, and then your probably creativity on top of that is just gonna blow up, because you're like, oh fuck, I remember that when I was like 10. I remember that, and oh my god, and those feelings, and then those sounds will start kicking in, and then yeah, totally, man, right on. So we got any last words for everybody before we sign off here, bro?
No, I think it's cool what you're doing, man, with this shit. And thank you for everybody that fucking bought the album so far and fucking gets it and watches crazy Italian shit where, instead of wearing like normal clothes, you got to dress the zombie up in a robe and put like a noose around its neck and just paint the top half of the hands, so they need to walk around like this.
Yeah.
You see their hands are just fucking like, anybody that fucking digs that shit and bought my album or jammed my album, thank you. That's all the shit that I want to do.
It's so true about the Italian horror films, the zombies and all that stuff, man. They half-assed everything. I mean, not everything entirely, but
I mean, I will say this: the faces, and I'm not saying this ironically or anything.
Now,
the faces of the zombies in Burial Ground, with the like corn teeth and just like weird the nose.
Yep.
They didn't try to hide that; they just painted black to try to make it look like a hole, but you can see it shine. Which I added that detail on the cover of Cannibal Death Gods. The shiny black nose. I added that. But yeah, like, I'm seriously, not ironically, those zombies over Savini Day of the Dead zombies.
Right.
Call me crazy. I know Day of the Dead zombies look, the best.
The best.
They look amazing. But my style that I like are just those dusty fucking robe fucking zombies coming out of the ground with maggots in their eye. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Same here, man.
It's super death metal.
It is, though. Same with Dr. Butcher.
Yeah.
Those fucking zombies there, man. Like you could tell how cheese they are, but there's something about what they did with that funeral wax. And like you said, the corn teeth and like a bad eye to the side and everything. Like there's just something about those.
Yeah, and again on the death metal fucking thing, that's I said it earlier, but that's what makes it go back, because a lot of those early death metal bands, all those samples, all those lyrics. Think about how many death metal lyrics in the early 90s are about the beyond. And, like, there are so fucking many and so many references and samples, and I feel like the two just really fucking go together good. And horror movies were a big, like, all-around influence to death metal when it started to become and morph into, like, the genre that it is. You know what I mean?
Yep. Well, look at Possessed, The Exorcist. There's a fucking perfect example right there.
Yeah,
Boom.
and you can go back to Venom, starting a lot of shit, but just writing, like, songs influenced by horror movies. Like, metal and horror have always just kind of went together really good.
Perfectly. That's exactly.
Yeah. Perfectly. Perfectly. Everything matches. You got everything.
Exactly. So, like I said, man, check out all his links. You're going to see links. We're going to post some more shit in the comment section. But make sure to fucking check his shit out, man. If you love horror movies, you like soundtracks, you love it all together, here's the man right here, dude. So, thank you very much, Dave. And
thank you.
When are you going to be doing some more live streaming? We'll do that before we get...
Within the next week on my Instagram page, I'm going to just be fucking writing music for part 2.
All right. Oh, yeah, exactly. He's going to do live recordings just like he did on the first part of Cannibal Death God. Fucking hey, man. All right, dude. Well, thank you very much, man. And we'll chat soon, bro.
All right, cool. Thanks again.
Right on, dude.
All right. Peace.
Later. Damn straight. That's how we roll. Good old Slasher Dave, man. Like I said, man, I'm a fucking horror nut. I love fucking horror movies, man. And especially I love the cheesy Italian. It's not even cheesy, man. There's just something about those films. Like he said too, man. Like the music was beautiful at times, but then thrown in with fucking just... Like, especially Cannibal Ferox, man. It's like 24 scenes of brutally barbaric torture, and they're not lying. Unfortunately, there's the Animal Geek Show stuff that's within, a lot of Italian stuff. But, I mean, if you can look past that, I cover my eyes on some things, man. I'll admit it, man. I'm not a big fan of watching the animals, whatever, but these fucking Euro movies, man, are the bomb, and they'll always be the bomb. So, tune in tomorrow. Who do we got tomorrow? Actually, I forgot. I think we got Roy. Mr. Roy Fox. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, Tuesday. We got the man here. Mr. fucking Roy Fox. Necroharmonic. Distribution, t-shirts, whatever, man. And just a huge supporter of the underground from day one, back in the day, man. Look how cute he is, man. You can't fucking deny that face. That's beautiful. So tune in tomorrow. We're gonna be hanging out with Roy and chatting some really cool stories, because he's kind of one of those guys. He's been there, done that. So thank you very much, and please watch all the horror movies you can, because we have time. But, I mean, you're going to do it anyways, so it doesn't matter. And make sure to share, like, support, comment on everything, just to fucking help each other out, all right? Fucking be good, people. Rock and roll.